Hey, welcome to the UNLV SimLab procedures. Now it is important before you begin that you are dressed appropriately and you use proper protection. Number one thing is to always make sure you wear proper eyeglass wear. Safety glasses that are OSHA approved are recommended. If you have glasses like myself, it is ideal if you actually get glasses that will fit over them, that will cover the sides, so that way you get no chips in there. In addition, if you are using loud machines, you can use our own ear protection, or if you're grossed out by that, you can actually bring your own ear protection as well, which is highly recommended. In addition to this, you need to make sure you wear no long sleeves, and also shoes that are not open-toed. Sneakers, boots are ideal. If you are a lady and you have longer hair, please make sure to bring it back and put it in a tight bun or in a ponytail so that it's not in the way while you're cutting. Now, with these in mind, let's go and begin our safety procedures, and hopefully you'll be a safe person. Now this is a small saw for items like basswood and softer, smaller wood similar towards it to use. You have two different guide tools you can have. You have this push fence or the guide. You should never use them at the same time. In order to adjust this, you loosen it up right here and it can slide back and forth, so you can determine how much length you want. If you're not going to be using it, just go ahead and slide it off, and you can replace it with this. So with this, you have the ability to adjust it. So if you want to get angle cuts, just loosen this up and you'll see there's degrees on here. You move it back and forth to help get some angle cuts. Another feature you can use to adjust this is actually the blade height. If you look down right here, you have the ability to loosen this up and start turning it. This will adjust the height of the blade up and down, and then if you actually slide the whole thing over, you can actually adjust the angle of the blade as well, so you can get some beveled edges in there. So when you are ready to cut, make sure your guard is down properly. Go ahead and turn it on. Slide it through slowly. Push it all the way through, and then go ahead and turn off the machine. And don't ever get your excess material taken away from the blade until actual machine blade stops, and then you can pull it away. And that's it for this little machine. If you notice, we'll have two other small saws, and they work in a similar fashion. Now this is a combination of an orbital sander and a disc sander. It's one of very useful tools. One really important feature about this tool is that you always have to make sure that while you turn it on, you in addition turn on the vacuum as well. This produces lots of sawdust, so you need to make sure that your vacuum is on at all times while you're using this machine. The orbital sander and the disc sander both have the option to adjust the angle of which you wanted to do some sanding. So you have the ability to adjust it here for the disc sander, and then you also have the ability on this side for the orbital sander. So another thing you have to be aware of when you're working with this sander is that after a while this has a tendency to create gunk from the glue or the sap. So we have this eraser block on here. Whenever it's really gunked up, go ahead and turn it on and push the eraser block against wherever you want it to clean up, and it should take away most of the gunk away from there, so you can get a nice clean sandpaper before you start sanding. Now when you start sanding, if you start using the disc sander, it's really important to understand that the rotation of the disc is going towards you. So you never want to put the block, say right here, because then it's going to kick towards you or come out of your hand. Every time you use this, you're going to want to use it at the end of the rotation, so essentially closest to you, so that way it doesn't kick away from you. I'll show you an example. Now Similarly for the orbital sander, you want to make sure that you're always butted up against it. Don't try to push it away. Make sure you have a nice firm grip on it. Similar fashion towards this sander, and just make sure the vacuum is on. Now this is a drill press. It's a really handy tool to do holes and other items of the sort. This is a fancy schmancy machine. Essentially, you have a lot of options to adjust it. You have the ability to essentially adjust the height of this. So depending on how deep of a hole you want, how high your wood is, you actually adjust the height of this plate by loosening this up right here. And you'll notice there's a handle, so you can go up or down on it. And whenever you are done adjusting it to your proper height, make sure you always tighten this up so it does not move on you. Also, you have the ability to adjust how deep the press goes down into it. This is controlled by these washers right here. You have the ability to play around with them so that if you're doing similar drills that are needed to be the exact same height at all times, you drill it down, and then once it gets to a certain height, it'll hit the stop, so that way it'll always be the same height no matter what. So you have the ability to adjust that as well. If you ever need to change your kind of bit that you have, we have the chuck. It's going to be mounted to the side of the machine right here, and then just go ahead and push it in, turn it till it loosens up, and then it'll slide out, and then go ahead and replace it with a new bit that you would like. Similarly, when you're putting it back in, make sure that it's nice, tight, and snug, and always remember to put the chuck back against the machine so we don't lose it. As you turn on the machine, you'll notice that there's a few options on here. You have the ability to have a light, and also there's a crosshair laser so you know where the bit's going to go against. When you turn on the machine, it's always important before you start pressing the wood to make sure you have a base on here of wood, a sacrificial base, so that you don't ruin and get into the metal plate. Also, it's important to notice that when you turn it on, you'll see RPMs on here. You can adjust the amount of RPMs with this mechanism right here. Bring it towards you will increase the RPMs. Pushing away from you will decrease the RPMs, making it go slower. When you decide what RPM you want it to be at, make sure you have a nice firm hold to the block of wood or whatever you're drilling. Slowly press down. Until you get the hole you desire. And that's it. This is a benchtop router. Now, a word of caution, this is a very dangerous tool. It is very easy to get your fingers anywhere near this bit and actually take off your fingers. So be word to the wise, be extremely cautious. It's really important to never get your fingers near this area, anywhere near the bit, so you don't cut yourself or take off a finger. Now, it is really important before you begin using this machine, if you switch out the bits or even if the same bit's in there, just always make sure that your bit is tight. So always go in there, grab the tools, make sure they're tight. It is important to make sure that you're aware if you do change it out that a SimLab monitor assists you instead of you taking care of it yourself. In order to turn this on, you'll notice that it's a very fast machine and that it spins at extremely fast RPM, so you must always be aware of that. So I'm going to show you an example. Make sure that when you're pushing this through, you push from right to left instead of left to right. If you push from right to left, you're going with the rotation of the bit and it's going to go smooth. If you go from left to right, it will go against it and jack it up. Here now you have a nice little smooth router inside of there. So, if you are concerned and need to use the machine, please address the SimLab advisor and they will be happy to help you out. Now this sander is great for if you have curved surfaces. If you'll notice, there are a variety of widths that you can replace them with. Now it is important to know that you are not allowed to switch these widths out. If you need to switch out your different kind of sandpapers, please address a SimLab advisor and they will be happy to assist you. Now when you are ready to use this, and you have the proper guard in there, all you have to do is turn on the machine and you'll notice it will rotate slowly back and forth, up and down, and then once you use your curved surface in there, go ahead. If this was a curved surface, push it again and rotate it around. Make sure you keep your hands outside of the area of the black disc so that you don't get your fingers caught within the sandpaper. Now currently this is our bandsaw. It's a really important tool to use. As you'll see, we're replacing the blade right now. It is not in there. However, I will show you how to function the machine to make sure you can understand how to use it properly. Before you use this machine, it is extremely important to make sure you use the proper safety procedures. Now, in order to use this, you have to make sure that this guard is as close to the wood as possible. The reason why it's important to make sure that it's not so high up is because the blade will flex back and forth and will have a tendency to snap, or it'll bow back and forth and you can actually cut yourself with it or bind up your wood. So make sure that whenever you use this, that is a pretty close height to this piece of wood that you will be cutting. Now, in addition, you'll notice that you have a push guard and a rail guard on here as well. You should never use them combined. If you're going to use one, make sure you do not use the other as well. Some people do not even use them, so if you would like to, you can go ahead and take it off and have it not be in the way. Now when you are ready to cut, you'll notice the big start button. Go ahead and press it, and the blade will start rotating around. Once you cut through your wood, make sure you push it all the way through. Don't get your hands anywhere near. Don't get your hands anywhere near the blade. But once you're done, you hit stop, and then you'll notice the blade is still running, and you have to make sure you pump the brake down at the bottom. And then once you hear it stop completely, then you know it's safe and you can remove your pieces of wood away from the bandsaw. Now this is our chop saw. It does other things besides just chopping straight down. If you'll notice up closer, we have these marked angles on here. If you wish to get angle cuts on there, what we're going to do is lift this up, push down, and it'll swing back and forth depending which angle you all want. In addition, you can also do beveled edges. If you look right here, you also have the ability to adjust the angles of that. There's a handheld tool in the back, and it'll slide back and forth depending exactly what angle you want. And then once you go back to the 0 degrees, just tighten it up, make sure it's nice, firm, and tight. Now it's important while you use this tool to make sure your hands, you'll see, don't go anywhere near these markings at all. Keep them outside this line so that way you don't have any chance at all of catching yourself within the blade. When you're ready to cut your piece of wood, make sure you put it on there. It's nice and firm against the fence right here. Go ahead and make sure you bring it down. Make sure it's where you want to do your cut. Bring it back up, turn on the blade, and then slowly lower it down until you cut through your piece of wood. Once the blade is off, go ahead and grab your wood and separate it, and then you'll see you have your cut. Another feature to this table saw, or not table saw, chop saw, is that we'll notice that you have the ability to actually slide these out, and you can actually adjust this and put it on there so you can have longer pieces of wood. If you need any help with that, please ask a SimLab advisor for it, and they'd be happy to assist you. Now this is our saw stop table saw. This is great for doing long plain cuts or multiple cuts that you need with angles. This is really important to notice that we'll have, once again, a guide, pushing guide, and also a rail guide. You should never use these concurrently as well. The reason for that is because if you use them, they could get pinched and push out. If you'll notice behind you, there are a bunch of holes in the walls from people doing the exact same thing, and that could actually hurt you significantly. Now, when you're using this, always make sure that your blade height is at the appropriate height that you wish to use. In order to adjust it, if you wish to lower it, you'll notice down below, you have a few different tools. Loosen this up, and turning it counterclockwise allows it to lower it. Turn it clockwise, raise the entire blade. In addition, if you wish to get angle cuts, you have the same sort of mechanism on the side. Loosen it up and turn it, and then the blade will start bending or not angling to what you need to be. Always make sure that once you are done, to tighten up the wheels again to make sure that they don't move on you. Now when you are ready to cut, it's always important to make sure you have your guard down. And have it pushed up against your rail or the guard, whatever you're using. And when you turn it on, make sure you push it all the way through, never letting your hands come anywhere near the blade. Now once you get to a certain point where you can't reach anymore, it is important to use your pushing guide to make sure you don't get your hands anywhere near the blade, because you never want to cross over the blade. You always just want to push and then switch out for the tool. If you are concerned with this machine at all, please let us know. One of the SimLab advisors will help you out. Now this is a panel saw, and it's great for cutting longer pieces of wood into smaller, more manageable pieces. It's really important to use this with the assistance of someone else if you are going to be using bigger pieces of wood. Now for this, I'm going to have my lovely assistant, Andrew Martin, to help me out with this. So we'll go ahead and load a piece of wood on there. Now when you're loading it, make sure you go on the tracks. So go ahead and push it through to the area where you need to do your cutting. Now once it's on there, make sure that it's secure and won't move around. When you're ready to cut, make sure that your cable is out of the way, not within the blade reach. You can bring down and make sure that the blade is exactly where you need to do the cutting. And once you are ready, go ahead and hold the piece of wood down. So hit the trigger and slowly push down all the way till it engages, and then push down and push down and push down until you finally get all the way to the bottom. Once you're to the bottom, turn off the machine and do not pull it up again until the machine is off. Once the machine is off, at times you might have to push aside the wood so that the blade can come up without any problems. And then you have your piece of wood that you need to cut. Now this is a joiner. It is one of the most dangerous tools here in the shop. Keep that in mind. Now, you have to be aware of this tool because you'll notice there's a pretty large blade that rotates extremely fast. You should never get your fingers anywhere near them or else they will rip them off. This machine has the ability to actually smooth out two pieces of wood so you can join them together so it'll be seamless. Now, it's important once you turn on this machine and start using it that you hold the piece of wood against the fence and start pushing it through. Once you start pushing it through, it'll start cutting, and at a certain point you will need to move your hand over to the other side and hold it through. Once it gets close to the other side, grab on the other, pull it through as well. Another advantage to use with this would be a push stick. If you're concerned about getting your hands too close, you can use this push stick to help push this through so that you don't have to worry about getting your fingers anywhere near there. In addition, for longer pieces of wood, you should always have an assistant like my lovely Andrew to help you out so that way you don't get anywhere near the blade. Now, you have the ability to adjust this as well. You can adjust the depth of the cut by turning this wheel right here and rotating it back and forth from 0 to ½ inch depth. And you also have the ability to adjust this plate for how wide a piece of wood you want to go. So we'll go ahead and show an example of how to use it. Smooth. Turn off the machine, make sure it's completely off. Now, you'll notice here that in our SimLab we have our own tool cage. Now these tools are for you to use anywhere within the school, not just within the SimLab. It's important for you to understand that if you do take out these tools, you actually do have to check them out. So let's go check something out. Hey Andrew Martin.
Hey Jake.
Could I get one of these tools?
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it.
For you.
Now, I'm going to borrow this drill.
Sure.
Here's my ID.
I see you.
Can I fill out the paper so that I can get it taken care of?
No needed.
Great.
Because you're going to come back to this.
Thank you. Now, as you check out a tool, it's important that you give your student ID to the SimLab advisor and you fill out the checkout list. Within this, you have the ability to check out any tools within our cage. However, be sure to always bring it back or else we will hunt you down. Now, as you make a mess and use the tools, it is not our job as a SimLab advisor to clean up your mess. If you use the tools, it is your mess and you must clean it up. Down here, I found someone's mess. Let's go find them and remind them that it's their job to clean it up. Hey, Andrew, clean this up for me. Don't let it happen again. Now, the only appropriate place to spray anything, adhesive, fixative, spray paint within the entire school is within the spray booth within the SimLab. Now it's important before you begin using it to make sure that you always turn on the fan to make sure that you have proper ventilation. In order to turn on this fan, the switch is right here. Turn it on. Once it's on, go ahead and begin spraying. After you're done spraying, leave it on for a little bit to make sure it sucks out all the exhaust, and then go ahead and turn it off. Now remember, this is the only place that you're allowed to use spray fixative, adhesive, spray paint, or any other aerosols type of sprays. Now, when you are done cutting all your pieces of wood, you most likely will end up with scraps. It is important to note that when you have scraps that are reusable, to put them back in an appropriate place that is manageable and allowed for other people to use them right here on the scrap pile. If you have smaller scraps, pieces of wood, do not put them back within here as they are too small to be used. Go ahead and throw them away so that way we don't have to deal with a mess later on. Now throughout the school, you'll notice that we have a bunch of these red boxes. These are for the disposal of X-Acto blades, razor blades, or any other sharp objects. Do not put X-Acto blades in garbage cans or anywhere else. These belong in these red bins. We do not only just have them in the SimLab, but they'll also be in your studios as well. So please put them away properly. Now, here at UNLV, we have invested in some wonderful machines. Here we have a 4x8 industrial laser cutter, which is for anyone's use. That is within the School of Architecture. Now, this is not something that you can just come up and use. If you have the desire to use it, you need to have proper etiquette and have your files completed and take them to your SimLab advisor, and they will assist you in regarding to your cutting. In addition, you'll notice behind here that we have a CNC machine, and this is the same options in regards to you are not allowed to use it, and you must have the assistance of a SimLab advisor to help you out.